Okay, I think we are live. Hello, Tulin. Hello, hello. Welcome. I cannot thank you enough for being here. So I met you a couple weekends ago at Warrior Goddess Wisdom Weekend in Austin, which was
Mhm.
powerful. I mean, I got a ton from it personally that just felt empowering and convicting, right? Things I needed to look at and work on and, journal about. And what I remember about meeting you, and I would get these little small snippets, is I was like, wait, what? What did you do? Who are you? And I remember just every little time I got just a tiny little piece of your story, I would think, powerhouse. You are a powerhouse. And we are going to talk about money today. And I love how this fits in with Waypoint because, I tell this to a friend all the time. If you're worried about keeping the lights on, it's really hard to live your best life. I mean, it
Mhm.
just like money is an energy and it's a freedom, right? It's a
Yeah.
freedom to live into your purpose and who you're supposed to be. And you are the go-to girl for money. I cannot wait. And your heart, your passion, what I took from this when I met you is empowering women around money and how that gives empowerment and gives freedom. So, welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Waypoint chat. And I'm just going to I think you have this incredible inspirational story of like how you even came to this point of being the money girl. That's in my head who you are. You're the money girl.
I'm the money
So
girl.
girl, yeah. So how does that start for you? Because I think we're going way far back to childhood for this. Yes. So just
Yeah.
a highlight of your inspirational story.
Well, we were refugees from post-Vietnam War. And because my dad fought on the losing side, they were persecuting everybody who fought or helped the South. So we had
Yeah.
to leave sort of like in the middle of the night, leave everything. He had to, well, actually, that's how he paid for passage on like the little dinghy for us to leave in the middle of the night by, giving them everything that we owned. Um, and so when we arrived in America, we got a political asylum, and four of us, me, my parents, and my little brother, lived in one tiny apartment in New York City where the bathroom was in the kitchen. I don't know if
Nice.
you've ever seen that
I have
before.
not. It's rumored, right? But this actually exists. How old were you at this point?
Yeah, I was a baby,
Okay.
um,
Okay.
2, 3, and yeah, they still exist to this day,
Yeah.
because they're all tenements there, and so my father was able to get a job, and even though it like paid the bills and got us health insurance, we never had enough for the things I wanted. So I was
Yeah.
born with like this huge desire, and my parents would just be like, "No, we can't afford it. No, there's not enough money." So it's just enough for like we couldn't even buy sneakers or jeans. My mom had to sew clothes from fabrics that were like donated, or
Yeah.
anyway, so it was a little bit embarrassing. Um, but I wanted a downtown Manhattan apartment, like when I turned 18, because
Yeah.
Sex and the City was around and I wanted
Yes.
like Carrie Bradshaw life. I wanted, the Gucci, and I wanted to go out to fancy restaurants with girlfriends and things like that. And I was like, how is this going to happen? Like, we didn't
Right.
know, I didn't know anything about money. Nobody around me knew anything about money. But what our babysitters was the public library. So because my
Right.
parents were working like 14-hour days, they would put me and my brother in the public library. And when it closed, they would pick us up. And somehow I managed to end up in like the investing business section. And I was like, there's something called investing where
Right.
you can put a little bit of money and make it grow. And I thought, wow, that's it. That's the answer. And I was reading books from like legendary investors like Peter Lynch and Charlie Munger. And I thought, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And so because I had a really strong work ethic. I'd always been working. And when I saved like $500, I asked my dad in the 90s to put it in Amazon. And because I was an avid reader, now,
Yeah.
now you can buy books on the internet. Like, this is going to change the world. And, he would be
And
like,
it
oh,
did. You were right. I mean,
right.
yeah.
And well, since then, I've invested in Apple in 2001, Nvidia in 2002, Netflix 2003, Google 2004. I mean, all of these companies that would end up defining not only their industries, but like defining the world. And
Yeah.
so that became the basis in like looking back, like how did this broke teenager that didn't know anything about anything, never took like a business or economics or finance class, how did I find these companies that would become the juggernauts that we know of today? And that would
Yeah.
become the basis of my investing framework called intuitive investing.
Right. I love that.
Yes.
Yes, because that leads into the whole person, right? We're not just talking about money anymore. We're talking about using those gut instincts, using this, this wisdom that's inside of you, calling you towards what it's calling you towards, right? So
Yeah.
okay, so I'm going to fast forward you a little bit. Then you were a social worker, right?
Became a social worker because I
Yeah.
wanted to help people. And so I had been
Yeah.
driven a lot in my life by desires, like my desire for, the downtown apartment and my desire to
Yeah.
help people. And this was, the internet, like now, one person with a phone can have a lot of impact. Their message can be seen by millions. But at that time in like the 90s, I didn't really know how I could help people. So when
Yeah.
I found out there was a profession called social work where you just like directly help people, I thought,
Yeah.
oh, that's perfect. That's for me.
Yeah.
I have no idea, Rhonda,
Yeah.
how little it paid.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's on par with teachers, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's kinda equal. But what did that show you too? So you worked with women, with children, with
Yeah.
families, and I feel like you, again, saw a lot of financial instability, which propels you kinda to now. Like, what were your feelings then watching these struggling families?
Yeah, so I started out as a mental health social worker because that is something that's really near to my heart. But then I saw how difficult it was to sort of make a change in these adults'
Yeah.
lives. So I thought maybe if I could start helping when they're children, that it can have a bigger impact and set them up for success. And a lot of times the children, they were failing school, they're
Mhm.
abusing drugs, getting into fights, being thrown in JV or,
Right.
a bunch of situations like that. And the only caretaker was the woman. So either the mother or the grandmother. And, the mom would be working, well, because if you are like the sole caretaker, the child's schedule does not fit with the typical,
Right, working, yes,
working.
hours.
Yes,
Yeah.
especially, at that time, work from home, there was no Zoom. So you had to be there in person. And so,
Right.
so the mothers, they would work sometimes multiple jobs, but because, they could only work maybe a couple hours at a time around the kids' schooling, they couldn't make enough
Right.
to get them out of a survival situation into a
Yeah.
place where they can like thrive.
So was
And so
there a
that's,
moment where you're like, financial freedom would help be the change? For myself, for women, was there like big aha moment? Or was it just like all these things that rolled together?
yeah, I don't know if there was like an aha moment because I'd always been driven, like I said, by this desire of
Yeah.
getting like a downtown apartment. I didn't want to leave social work. And so I thought, how am I going to get this downtown apartment? Have you seen
Yeah.
Manhattan rent?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
With like a 20,000 a year salary. And
Right.
so, I
As
kept
a
investing
social worker.
as a social worker.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I would take, I would save up, up to $100, and I would just keep putting it back into the market, putting it back into the market. And then a couple years later, when my portfolio, through the magic of compounding and my own hard work, crossed $100,000. And that gave me the confidence to now, get the downtown apartment. Um,
Yeah.
at that time when I was investing like in my 20s, and I didn't have the idea that financial freedom, would give me a sense of security or stability, because luckily I never, even though I lived in scarcity, meaning there wasn't money for
Yeah.
everything, I didn't have like a scarcity mindset. And I think it was because I started so early. So I saw that
Yeah.
my efforts had a direct impact on like my own bottom line.
Yeah.
But um, when my husband unexpectedly passed in 2019, and I found myself in the position of all the moms that I helped before, where I was the sole caretaker, and there was
Mhm.
no, we ran
Yeah.
out of money within like 6 weeks or something,
Yeah.
with creditors, and my business partners betrayed me. And I tried to find work to sustain us right before the pandemic. And again, I found myself
Yeah.
like, I would say mom hours don't fit office hours,
Right.
yes. And so I tried to supplement with like DoorDash and Starbucks, and like still like I couldn't make ends meet. And I thought, I've got to go back to investing.
Yeah. So,
Um,
I mean, so those skills, like what would you say the skills you learned through your early years of investing? I mean, now it's all on the line. You have children,
all on the
right? I
line.
mean, it's all on the line now. It's not like, hey, I have this $500, I'm working towards a Manhattan apartment. You now have children. Like that is then it's all on you. What skills like did you take with you or knowledge that you're like, this is what I'm going to draw off of?
I think the biggest thing that investing showed me, like the biggest gift, was that my hard work, diligence, and like energy that I put into it had a direct effect on my financial like well-being.
Yeah, I love that.
So I
So
knew, like, if I spent more time, if I was yeah, if I spent more time, more effort, then that could significantly impact our
yeah.
situation.
And I've
Like
read
it
on
was,
some of your things that you have out there as an educator that you are really focused on the confidence and resilience instead of getting rich. Can you kind of dive into that? Like what, because get rich, right? That's the carrot, right? Like that's what we're chasing. But when you say with confidence and resilience, like what are you speaking to?
yeah. So, Rhonda, true wealth and true prosperity to me means the enjoyment of life.
Mm, I love that.
Because I've met, as an investor, you're in the room with very wealthy people, billionaires, and I saw that they were not very happy because they would compare
Mhm.
themselves to someone that maybe had more money than them.
Yeah. Even
So
though that's enough, right? Or I mean, they had
they could
abundance.
spend that money in
Yeah,
like 3 or 4 lifetimes. They wouldn't be able to spend that, but they were still chasing these status games. So if it wasn't like acquiring stuff, it was
mhm,
having to prove that they were better or that they had more value than someone that had more money than them. And then I saw that they were not actually out of the rat race. It was just a different
yeah,
level of the rat race. And so that's why like getting rich to me, like I'm really
yeah,
grateful I saw that getting rich to me is not the goal. And when you say confidence and resilience, I think what you speak to is an inner power and belief in yourself. And I noticed that when, like I said, with investing, I knew that my own efforts would directly impact my situation, meaning it all came from me. It wasn't from, another person. And it
Yeah.
wasn't from outside situations, all of which we know we can't control anyway. We can,
Right.
only control ourselves.
Right.
So I feel that if you cultivate confidence and resilience, then now you have the power to create, the life that you want.
Yeah. Like true abundance that comes with joy. That comes
Yes.
with joy.
That's
Yeah. Okay. So if we have someone listening, right? And well, I guess first tell me, what do you do? Like, what is as an investor, as an educator, like what's your elevator speech? Here's what I do.
Okay. Well, I describe intuitive investing as a program that takes your real life experience and your own instincts and channels it into investable ideas. I
Mm,
mean, I found time and again with myself and with my students that you're going to make the most money when the ideas came from you. Like if somebody tells you to get Bitcoin, you're not interested, you don't know anything about crypto, chances are you're probably not going to make that much money. But if you saw something in your day to day that like you believe in because you saw it yourself, you tracked it yourself,
yeah.
you kind of have like this innate knowing about the industry, then that's where you're going to make the most money.
That makes sense. That can makes complete sense to me. So if we have a listener who feels overwhelmed or behind, or how do I even start? What is the very first, let's just say like mindset shift that you could offer to them?
Yeah. I mean, I would say this is like the bulk of my students. Not only are they women, but they are like who I would consider like light workers, like
Yeah.
Reiki healers, acupuncturists, people who don't um, make a lot of money and
Yeah.
don't have much confidence with money. And
Yeah.
they also happen to be middle age. They had spent their whole life trying to help people and, pursue their path,
Yes.
things like that. And then now they're at the point where it's like, I need to take control of this huge area of my life, my
Yeah.
finances. So for a mindset shift, I I would tell them to zoom out and look at your life as completely perfect where it is, and that every decision that led you to where you are now financially or in any other area was perfect, and that you just made the best decision for you at the time, and realize that the story is not over.
I love that.
I I read a lot about legendary investors because I want to learn from them.
Right. Yeah.
What struck me was how often they lost it all. And so, but these are people that are worth, multiple billions, tens of billions. They only got there because of their losses, but they didn't
Mm,
stop. So
they didn't stop.
they didn't stop. So the
Yeah.
story is not over,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
everything is perfect where you are right now
I
and
love
starting
that.
where you are.
Right. And it's kind of like what we talked about with Warrior Goddess Weekend. Like you have this, you have your map, right? And you know where you want to be. Like you can see the destination, but if you don't actually know where you are on the map,
Yes.
right? Getting really honest about exactly where you are, there's no path to it until you can figure that out and really step back and look at the truth of everything, right? And like the
Right.
story of everything and just the truth in this moment right now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what is one small habit that builds resilience over time?
Oh gosh, yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
Pick one of thousands, right? Like,
I really love this question. For me, it's the habit of forgiveness.
mm,
Um, so
that is
every day,
not what I expected you to say. Thank you. Okay, expand on that.
so every day things happen to us that we don't like the barista gives us the wrong order, somebody
Yeah,
cuts us off in traffic, or maybe your wife leaves you. And if you are stuck in the pain and the hurt of things that you can't control, then you can't create the life that you want to.
mhm.
And so I have kind of like this funnel analogy. And at the bottom of the funnel, you can imagine the hole is pretty small. I would
Yeah,
call that victim consciousness. And like the hole is small. So when you're in this situation that you don't like, whether you want more money or your wife left you, Einstein said you can't fix the problem with the same level of mind, that created the
right.
problem. But when you're in victim consciousness, the hole is so small, you don't have much information that you can like tap into, because when you're in fight or flight, you're very myopic in what you
Yeah,
can see, which is kind of just the bad stuff that you can
yeah,
see.
right.
Um, and then when you move up, in the funnel to what I call like the creator consciousness, now you have access to your imagination and to your
Mm,
creativity. And then you also reclaim a lot of energy, because, change requires a lot of energy. And then when you move to the top of the funnel, it's what I call universal consciousness. And so not only do you have creativity, imagination, but you have access to your intuition and maybe divine guidance. And
mm.
then with that, like all things are possible. But how do you get out of the victim consciousness? For me, the first step is forgiveness, either yourself or, whatever happened around you
Right.
that
Those
you didn't
around you. Yeah. Okay, we're ready, coming to a close on time. I've just loved everything about this. So, if there's one thing you wanted listeners to take from your story of being a refugee in the United States to now
like.
being an investor, self-made woman, powerhouse, like what is that one thing you would hope people take with them?
That the story is not over
Mm,
and you don't know where life is going to take you. Just
yeah.
keep going.
Just don't know. It could take you to the Ice Mageddon in Austin, right? For Warrior
Yeah.
Goddess Weekend,
Yeah.
where you meet incredible people. You just don't know. Okay, so you actually have a free 40-day abundance journey beginning this Friday, the 13th.
Yeah.
The kickoff call is at noon, right? But it's a 40-day journey that I am definitely signed up. I'm making all my friends sign up. And so they can connect with you. Your Instagram is Tulin is Building, and I have that at the bottom of the screen. So even if they watch this later, you're always offering programs, and right, like you're always offering women ways to learn about money, to learn about investing, to use their intuition to just build that like freedom and peace and safety right on their own. So
Yes. And the 40
love
day abundance journey lives inside my money community,
it.
which
Okay.
is always on.
Always on. It is. I mean, there's posts in there all the time and challenges. And I'm just excited to learn from you and just expand my own knowledge, because I do think, money has an energy around it. And
Mm.
it's a mindset, right? It is a mindset on how you use that in your life.
Yes. And
Yeah.
the empowerment you gain from that
Mm.
area, you can bring to all areas of your life.
Yeah. Thank you so, so much for coming on live with me. This has just been fabulous, and I cannot wait for your 40-day journey.
Thanks, Rhonda.
Okay.
So good to be with you.
I know. Awesome. Thank you.
See you soon.